Hey everybody, welcome to the January 19th, Dave, what are you playing? Don't blame me, I didn't want to call it PixelBlips.
Okay. Anyway, so we've had this sale going on the PSN. They're 14 for 14. And so I picked up Enslaved, Odyssey to the West for the PS3, and I also picked up The Walking Dead Season 1 with 400 Days. So I've been playing both of those, and it's kind of fun playing The Walking Dead again, and playing it in a smaller form factor that I could take to work. Like it's like, you know.
Does it have touchscreen controls?
You at the beginning of it, you can choose either to have controls with the sticks and the buttons, or you can have touchscreen controls.
Oh, so you can't bounce.
I don't think you can switch between the two, on the fly. I mean, you could go into the settings and change it, but it's whatever. But it is kind of fun, and after playing the entirety of the first season on the PS3, and then going through and playing it a second time, in some instances a third time, because I've played a lot of the game twice.
I played the game twice on the PS3. I played
just to kind of see some of the
I played through once normal, and then one day I was just like, I'm just gonna marathon it and see what's different.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm doing.
Not much is.
No. The only real differences are, do you choose this guy versus this guy, and they still wind up, whatever.
Yeah.
And so the big things always wind up in the same spot. Like, do you leave the camper behind, or does the camper get stolen?
Yeah, we haven't really gotten to that Baldur's Gate. We haven't ever gotten back to that Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of level of choice in games. Yeah. Of like, even in Mass Effect, like most of your choices boil down to the exact same thing. But in Baldur's Gate Shadows of and then even after that in Throne of Baal, the add-on pack, it was literally like the world and its politics are in some cases radically different depending on what you do in that game.
Yeah, it is. And it's.
But it is what it is. It's still a good game.
Yeah, and it is still a really good game. And for $5, you get the entirety of Season 1, which if you bought it episode at a time, it would have cost you almost $30.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a year old, and it was one of my favorite games of 2012. So, that's a pretty good deal. It's $5 if you're Plus, and I think it's like $7.50 or $10 if you're not Plus. And then I've also been playing Enslaved, which if you watched our channel this week, I put up a video of me playing the first 48. I'm going to try to do that every week.
Yes.
So I will try to play a different game, and usually games that I haven't played before. I can't make any guarantees. I do have some stuff like I'll show you the first 48 of, like, we'll say The Last of Us, and that'll spoil a little bit of the beginning of the game, but it kind of shows you what the game is set up to be and stuff like that. And
though I watched quite a bit of your Enslaved one, you didn't really get much further out from where the demo ended.
Yeah,
because that's the demo's so far my only
experience with it.
I want to play more of it.
And it's kind of fun. Like, I've been playing. I put a couple more hours into it yesterday, and I think I'm in like chapter 6 or 7. But it's kind of like, it's almost like a Ico-esque game, because you have to, the girl isn't completely helpless, but a lot of times you have to carry her on your back or throw her into a spot.
So did you Wikipedia this before you played it or anything?
No, I did a little bit of Wikipediaing right before I started playing it, just so I could have a little bit of what I'm talking about.
So it's Odyssey to the West.
It's an Odyssey to the West redo, except instead of her asking for help, she is basically saying, "You're going to help me or you're going to die."
It was Gohan, Son Goku, and brain fart. I can't remember what the...
No, I don't know anything else other than what the little Wikipedia page says about the game.
So you've never had any exposure to Odyssey to the West?
No, but the way you're saying it kind of sounds like Dragon Ball Z.
Because Dragon Ball Z is Odyssey to the West.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Dragon Ball
is the original series.
Odyssey to the West.
Not Dragon Ball Z, because that's...
and that's how I got into it, is in the late 90s, or the mid-90s in Chicago, there was this UHF network that just showed a ton of anime, and one of the things was Dragon Ball, and that got me interested in Odyssey to the West.
Yeah.
And then when Dragon Ball Z came out, I was like, this isn't the same thing.
I don't like it as much.
And since it doesn't have the backbone or the skeleton of Odyssey of the West, Dragon Ball Z kind of wanders.
Yeah, it goes all over the damn place.
Is the best term I can think of for what it does.
Well, and then you've got, just in DBZ in general, you have scenes where one dude's standing there for 8 episodes powering up.
Have you gotten to the flying cloud? I guess in this it's probably not a cloud.
They call it
staff.
They call it the cloud. They call it the cloud, but it's like an energy disc. He throws down and he stands on it. And
how about the staff? Have you gotten the staff?
You get the staff and you get the cloud. Well, you get the staff like right at the beginning because that's where all your basic melee combat stuff comes from. Is the staff, and then the staff can like later on shoot like plasma balls and electric stuff to like take out the robots.
So you're saying what I'm hearing right now is this is probably better than Super Monkey Daiboken,
I would assume.
The Famicom game of Odyssey to the West that is so broken, there's almost no way to win it.
Yeah, I would assume so. I'm having, and it's really interesting because this is one of those games where they really went out and they got some decent talent for this game. Like because Andy Serkis is the guy that did all the mocap and the voice over for Monkey.
Yeah,
the main character.
Well, it's the same Ninja Theory.
It's the same guys that did
DMC and Heavenly Sword.
Yeah.
Heavenly Sword, Monkey Circus is all over that game.
Monkey Circus? Andy Serkis?
Andy Serkis.
But it's really weird.
Hey, it's not my fault. He's in Planet of the Apes. He should be ready for that.
He was also Gollum, so it's cool.
Wait, there's Gollum? What?
Yeah. But no. It's kind of weird because as you go through the game, you find these glitches, and they're like little spinny versions of a mask with the whatever. And when you hit them, it like flashes up a bunch of pictures, like real life pictures, and they're almost all of Andy Serkis. It's just really weird because he's kind of a weird looking guy. And you just see him kind of like come up at you all of a sudden. You're like, what the hell? And then that's kind of how Monkey feels too. He says like, what is going on? What the hell is going on? And as you get them, he just kind of gets used to them, and he's like, I don't know what's going on, but this must be a serious thing or something. But it's really neat. Like
in the Heavenly Sword, he brought a lot to the evil emperor the villain in that game.
The villain in that game. Oh, that's cool. See, I've never played Heavenly Sword.
That's a game.
I may go back and like if I can find a copy of that for $10 at a.
I'm surprised that's not a downloadable title.
I don't know. But the combat is God of War-esque. I mean, it is a button masher. You mash one button and then you change it up, and then you do occasionally have the big takedowns where it's like press circle to take out this big monster or whatever. But it's pretty simplistic. It does have the upgrade path of collect the red orbs, do that. But all in all, it's a lot of fun. I like some of the large environments that you get to run around in and climb on. And the fact that it's a God of War-like game, but you actually have camera control helps a lot. Like, because then you can look around, you can find all the hidden stuff a lot easier. But overall, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm only about 3 or 4 hours into it. I'll probably beat it. I mean, I only paid $5 for it, and it's $5 if you're plus, $10 if you're not on this 14 for 14 sale.
Which is an excellent price for that game.
Yeah, for $5. I mean, even if I only played it for 3 hours, it would have been.
Enslaved came out a few years ago in the midst of let's put bloom and make everything gritty and muddy and everything needs to look like God of War. And it was pretty much Enslaved and Uncharted that were like, no, we can use color, guys.
Yeah, and it's and that's kind of what I was looking at. I was like, well, the colors in this game are really, really, really nice. And the fact that it's a Unreal game that was made in 2010, before they really kind of had figured out how to make Unreal run like it's supposed to on the PS3, that thoroughly impressed me. Is like this, I don't have any slowdown. I don't have a lot of issues with this
Texture
game.
pop or glitch.
There's a little bit of that just because it's, there's a lot of stuff.
Thing?
Yeah. The one thing that really threw me off, though, was like I got a load screen right in the middle of a level. You don't really see that anymore, but I don't know if that's like an Unreal engine.
I've been looking at a lot of load screens lately. I played a lot of Final Fantasy 13-2.
Yeah.
Where it's funny because its load screen is hilarious because it's a fluid frame rate on the load screen, and you're kind of looking in this nebula and like little circle lines are coming out at you. Well, since it's an unlocked frame rate, sometimes the frame rate's really slow, and it's like chug, 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 chug. Other times, it's like 120 frames a second.
And you're just sitting there
and
going,
it is just like, whoa, like this is, like, wow, this is odd that you do this on a loading screen. It seems like an unfortunate allocation of resources.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else did I play? I played Don't Starve. I streamed a bit of Don't Starve.
You know what? I was playing a good chunk of that before some unfortunate business.
Yeah, it'll be back. Don't worry. If you're here from my Don't Starve live stream, hello. This is the show that goes along with the live streams. I liked Don't Starve. It reminded me a lot of an Apple II game I used to play that I've been trying to figure out what it was. I'm starting to think it might not have been an Apple II game. It might have been a early IBM PC title.
Early PC game.
But basically, you're left on this island. You have to figure out how to survive. Doesn't obviously look anything like Don't Starve, but it's the same type of thing of go over to the tree tile, mine the tree tile to get logs to build a fire, The
thing I liked about Don't Starve is like, as soon as I brought it up, my wife looked at it and she goes, that looks like a Tim Burton game.
Yeah, it's totally looks like Tim Burton.
It's like, it totally looks like...
The demon totally looks like Norman Osborn from Spider-Man comics. I was like, Osborn, what are you doing here? Like,
yeah, it's really neat. And, you had a friend that you work with that plays.
Yes.
And she was, like, giving you all kinds of tips and stuff. And I'm sitting there going, I found Maxwell's door.
I found Maxwell's door, like, totally by accident, went in and died immediately.
Oh, yeah, it didn't take very long. The day-night cycle is different on that first level of Maxwell's door. Like, it's, like, 3/4, or not even 3/4 daylight. It's like half day and then half night. And the dark night part is like a quarter of the day almost. It's
the thing I just liked doing, and the reason I might not go back to it anytime soon, is I like just building a camp and then building an outpost in the middle of nowhere. I'm not really that concerned with playing the game part of the game, which is what's inside Maxwell's door.
I mean, there is that whole, you should be prepared when you go into that. But then just figuring out the mechanics and finding all the new stuff is part of what I enjoyed about that game.
I had a pretty good run where I'd gotten either halfway through or all the way through winter, and I just was one day perky and decided I'm just going to go north and see what's north of here, and was a giant spider village.
And you died.
Yeah, I just had this image of spiders like overrunning the wooden walls I had made around my camp. It's the end of the world. I also played DMC, Devil May Cry, another Ninja Theory game, which,
Yeah, I played a little bit of that when we got it for free on Plus. And I was also testing out my equipment, so that might have been part of why I didn't particularly care for it. But it's not...
It's a Devil May Cry game, but it's also
sort of
like... No, it's totally a Devil May Cry game. Like, it feels the same as the Devil May... Because I'm a big fan of Devil May Cry 3. Feels the same, has that weird, pseudo-European Gothic architecture to everything. But at the same time, all the women are scantily clad with boobs twice the size of their heads.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's dropping F-bombs all the time, and the music oscillates between pretty good techno dubstep to, like, oh my god, mute it, it's horrible new metal rock that I just couldn't stand. I was like, this is kind of oscillating between, like, rubbing my face against a cheese grater and a sort of okay experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to that one particularly soon.
It's a good thing you didn't pay anything for it.
Good thing I didn't pay anything for it, you are correct. The other game I've been playing we'll talk about later in another episode, but so what we do want to talk about is these sales, because there's been a bit of backlash now from the developer community.
Yeah, I mean, we've been singing the praises of Sony's 14 for 14 sale, and
Steam sales,
and the Steam sales,
PSN discounts, all this wonderful stuff.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing for things to go on sale every now and then. But what is it? I can't remember the name of the damn game now. The guy that anyway. So like, these sales can hurt developers, right? Like, when the games come out, they're X number of dollars, and then like 3 weeks later, some big Steam sale happens and it drops 50%.
And they've started to trace the metrics of, like, do your fans wait for the Steam sale,
Yeah.
Versus the pre-order bonus. Now, I think the problem we're getting with here is a lot like any other sale, where you go to a store and everything's marked down. Is if two things are $60 to start with, and they're both 50% off, and one of them is only sold at that store and is handmade and only one manufacturer, that's obviously going to hurt that manufacturer.
Yeah, it is.
A lot more than if the other thing is sold at umpteen billion other stores, has been out for a while, had a marketing budget, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's what we're getting into with the Steam sales in particular, is people are expecting these super huge discounts because of things like Assassin's Creed's only $5, or all of Tomb Raider only $2. The really extreme Steam sales or
like the humble bundles, where it's like you pay $3 and you can get all these games, but if you pay at least $6, you get a couple more.
And I think that's not hurting big developers, big publishers.
Yeah, no, this is kind of a problem that really more hurts the indie community.
Well, we shouldn't say indie anymore. We should say small.
The small developer communities.
Communities.
And, because these guys come up with these games, they make them, they put their time into them.
Yeah.
And
sometimes years and, like, sacrificing social life and family life.
And, when their game comes out and it's $20, and everybody who loved the alpha and the beta and all that bought it for $20, but then, 3 months later, he's going to get a little bump because he gets on a Steam sale, but he's selling, twice the copies he sold in his first week at half the price. So he's basically making the same amount of money on this stuff.
The big example I like to put about when we talk about small devs is Q Games. Their Pixel Junk Eden title. People made a lot of a big to-do because the leader of Q Games, Dylan Cuthbert, who I follow, who I think is a genius. If you don't know who he is, Wikipedia him and then sing his praises until the end of time. Without him, you wouldn't have Star Fox. And they came out and said, we over doubled our entire lifetime sales and earnings on Steam by marking it 90% off. And that was huge for them. People were like, look, Steam sales really work for the developers. They were blah, 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 blah. What they're not adding into that is Pixel Junk Eden has been out on the PS3 for years, and they made the buttload of their money there.
Yeah.
Where
and when you come out with a game, like when a game is locked into one store, or a product is locked into one store, you can basically set the price.
Yeah.
And that's the only way anybody can get it. But when you give somebody the option to go, hey, you can buy Hotline Miami on the store on PSN for $15, or you can go to Steam and buy it for $9 or $10. You're kind of hurting the developer, even though it came out on the PC first. Whatever.
There's a much larger, and then you get into who has the larger audience, the PSN or Steam. Of course, it's the PSN. What money are you giving? It is the PSN.
Okay.
What money are you giving back? What kickbacks are there? Of course, Steam and Valve probably kick back a little bit of money to the developers. I'm sure it's not as generous as what Sony does, where Sony basically buys X number of keys from you at full retail price, and that's how they do their PlayStation Plus giveaways. Is they literally have a deal they work out with devs saying, we will pay you this much, it will be on PlayStation Plus for this many days.
Yeah. But there's all these different ways of how do you combat this.
Yeah.
We read a blog post. I can't remember what the guy's name is now, and it's really bothering me. But basically, it's not saved in your notes. No, it's on my phone.
Well, here you go.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Anyway, his thing was he's going to use what he was calling the Minecraft model, where when the game is released in alpha, you can buy it for $10, and you'll get all future updates, and you get early access to all the stuff, and you're basically his alpha tester. And then when it goes to beta, it jumps up in price, to $20, and then when it goes full release, it's $30, and it's going to stay there forever.
Yeah,
it won't go on sale, or it won't go on sale through anywhere except his website or whatever like that. And his rationale behind it was, I'm not going to burn you by releasing a game, and then 2 weeks later, you paying $30 for it on launch day, and then 2-3 weeks later,
it's $10.
It's $10 on Steam.
Yeah.
Rather than him saying, okay, it comes out, it's on Steam, it's on sale.
Because it kind of comes down.
It's like
to
the backwards.
We're getting we're getting 10 sales at X amount of dollars. If we break that down further to X amount of dollars divided by 10, a 10% off sale, are we then going to get 20, 30, or 40? Are we going to make more money making it cheaper?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of devs run into the problem with they get their first week sales or the first month sales. It's not what they expected. It's not really what they need.
Yeah.
And then they pull that, we need to put it on a Steam sale lever.
They pull that trigger. But part of his point was, setting it up where, it's cheaper on alpha, beta, and then final release. He can basically say, okay, from January 1st to January 30th, it's going to be alpha, it's going to be $8 or $10. And then from there to the next point, it's going to be $20. And then from there to release, it's going to be, from
and
30.
That's a really good...
and he can basically say, hey, you've got 2 weeks left to buy it at this lower price, and then it's going to jump up.
Yeah.
Or versus, he's not going to say, hey, 2 weeks from now, my game's going to be on sale, so don't buy it until then, because he's cannibalizing his weekly sales for those 2 weeks. Yeah. So the Steam sales will hurt, and part of why they work and part of what they cause is you get people who buy games for $3. I bought during the summer sale last year. I bought 5 games. I've put a couple of hours into each of them, but I really haven't played any of them all that much.
Well,
and then there are people who buy a dozen games and don't play any of them.
Yes,
they're throwing money out the door at these developers, which is great. They're getting something for their game, but nobody's enjoying their game. So nobody's going to say, oh yeah, that game was awesome. I only paid like $3 for it on a Steam sale.
The flip side of this is, and a lot of our viewers are probably like screaming at the monitor right now. Normally how sales work when you have a packaged good.
Yes.
Is the idea is that packaged good is worth so much on day 1, so much less on day 2, so much less on day 3 and day 4 and day 5. And why that isn't necessarily because the item itself is worth less, it's because you've now put more money into keeping it on the shelf.
Yes.
The reason that doesn't work with Steam is there's no packaged good.
There's no shelf at all.
So like the people that boast about how big their Steam library is, I always kind of like laugh at, and this is real asshole-ish of me, but because every once in a while I like to just sit in my office and just stare at my wall of video games and be like, I could be playing any one of those right now, but I'm not. I'm just going to sit here and look at them.
And that's essentially the same thing that they're doing. They just have a big long list instead of having a big wall of stuff.
Essentially, it's the same thing, except theirs is a list on a computer in a spreadsheet. Mine is a thing.
Well, when you think about it, it's all spread up with lines and columns. It's kind of like a spreadsheet. It's a physical spreadsheet.
Kind of like a physical spreadsheet, I guess. But it's a thing.
You can go over and do something with it. You could, if you wanted to, you could sell all of your games on eBay. Not that you'll ever do that.
No. Because I have a thing, but
you have a couple of things.
I have a couple of things, but there's a specific thing that makes me not want to do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, normally that normal sale mentality of it's been out for 6 months, we want to get it off our shelves, it's on sale.
Yeah.
That's not what propulses Steam.
It doesn't work.
What propulses Steam is Steam wants promotion for itself. Valve wants promotion for its Steam platform, so they do these giant Steam sales.
Yes.
Because that gets them promotion. Now, does that hurt the devs that are making Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed, blah, 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 blah? No.
Probably not the big AAA developers.
Yeah, because their packaged item is also going on sale at the same time.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not as much, but it is.
It's not as deep a discount, but when you think about it, all you're really downloading from Steam is just ones and zeros. When you go to, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, whatever.
GameStop.
Yeah, you're actually
sales.
You're getting some sort of physical thing,
packaged good that some dude had to put on that. Some dude had to ship to them. That then another dude had to pull out of that box.
And put it on the shelf.
Then had to put it on the shelf, and now it is taking up space where new things, other things that could maybe sell faster are on that shelf. Yeah. With Steam, there's none of that.
No.
Like I said, Steam sales are strictly self-promotional and good on them for doing them. All digital sales.
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus, PlayStation 14 for 14, whatever we're calling it. They're all good for them.
Yeah.
It's all promotion for them. This last week when the 14 for
14,
that thing went for sale, I saw it on 8 blogs.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good advertising.
It is good advertising, but I mean, and there are some games like Enslaved didn't get the recognition that it should have when it came out, 4 years ago.
There's a lot of games like that, and there's indie games through Steam sales that you'll come across that that really was genius. Why didn't I pick that before? The difference being with the digital platforms is it's really motivated more by the platform owner seeking advertising revenue, seeking good PR, less about getting the product off their shelf. It doesn't hurt the AAA developers, doesn't hurt the AA developers, or single A developers. We still have single A. Not that I can think of any single A title I've seen in the last 3 weeks.
I don't know. Devil May Cry was kind of...
No, Devil May Cry.
I gotcha.
Capcom put money behind that. That's better or worse. That's a AAA title. When I talk about AA, I mean things like
batteries.
AA is like E's Memory of Celcedia.
Yes.
That's AA.
Yeah.
Single A is like the old PlayStation 1 games that were just like billiards. Yes, that's a thing. Bowling.
Racing.
On a disc. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the indie developers, or the small dev, which is below A, or actually there's a B level too.
Whatever.
I used to remember what all these meant. Anyway, the small devs are hurt by that because they don't have a packaged good somewhere else that they've already pre-sold a certain amount of.
Yeah.
Hotline Miami, when they got up on the PlayStation Plus sale, Sony came to them and said, hey, here's a raft of money versus it being a free download for so long. And so that's basically Sony is prepaying them for sales of their item.
Yeah, I mean, and eventually
Steam
Hotline Miami became free.
Yeah,
but
Valve doesn't do that. Valve does, it's on Steam sale, and we're going to take our cut of that Steam sale price, which it really galls me when I found out that even if something is 90% off, Valve still takes a cut of it.
Yeah.
Because in a normal like retail space, if something was marked down that low, the actual retailer isn't making any money on it.
They're just trying to break even.
No, they're literally trying to get it off their store because
so they have room for better
they
stuff.
They need something new.
Yeah.
So Valve takes its cut. If there was a publisher behind it, the publisher takes its cut, and then the dev finally takes his cut. That's not as obscene or crazy if it's a $50 or we'll do it easy. If it's a $100 retail item,
yeah,
the dev's still making money off of it. But if it's now a $10 retail item, they're making pennies on their dollar.
Yep.
And these are guys that if you've watched Indie Game the movie, really do. I'm always amazed at the lengths to which people will go, the sacrifices they'll make to follow their dream.
Oh yeah.
And how far some of these people go to just get it on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or Steam is something that should be applauded in most cases. But at the same token, like maybe their game's not worth $100.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I can't think of any one single game that is worth $100. Even like the special edition, ultra mega edition of some of these games.
Baldur's Gate 2 is worth $100.
Maybe to you.
That is a game that is worth $100. That is a game that is like, when I go around and people badmouth used game stores and thrift stores and all that stuff, but occasionally I'll go around and I'll see Final Fantasy VII for $50. And I'm like,
especially when it's like the greatest hits version that was $25
You're
or $30 new.
It's not really worth that. Now, if it was Final Fantasy VI with the manual and all that shit, yeah, it's totally worth that.
Like the NES cartridge?
Or even the anthology version. Yeah, it's totally worth that.
I actually got Final Fantasy Anthology for $25.
Well, the other thing about
it had all the stuff too.
The other thing that's making those waters even more murky is I've recently found out that Square Enix, whatever you want to say, still produces Anthology, Chronicles, and Origins. They're just come on like normal CDRs that they just then stick in their cases.
Yep.
And it's so we'll try to figure out another game that maybe they wouldn't do that with. We come from the age, when we were kids, we never bought games new.
No, most of the time we got them used, or if they were new, we got them for Christmas.
Yeah. So Phantasy Star 4 was $100 when it came out.
Yeah, it was like $80-$90 or something like that.
Yeah, and that's in 1994 money.
That's because it had special tech.
Yes, it's 32 megabyte cartridge.
Yeah. Solid state.
So that game, it's totally worth $100.
But now you can get it in a pack of Sega Genesis games for $20, and you get like 100 other games too.
But this is the thing we've come back to all the time, is that specifically with Square Enix games, is that people complain that they're so expensive.
Yes.
And they're like, I'm not spending $10 for Final Fantasy VI because all it is the Super Nintendo emulated version. Well, yeah, but that's also a freaking work of art.
Yeah. And how much did you pay for that Famicom game you brought me back from Japan?
Oh, the Famicom title?
Yeah. I think you bought it for like
800 yen, so it would have probably been close to $5 or $6 when I was there.
And new in box. Or
new
complete
in box.
Complete in box.
Complete in
maybe
box.
not new, but yeah.
Because Japan's crazy about the stuff they carry their
video games.
And man, they had just
dozens,
crates of those, and I was just like, man, if I could bring like.
All I need now is a container to throw them all in and just ship it across the ocean.
The reason I can only buy that one, was it 6? I bought you 6?
You bought me 6.
I bought you 6. Okay, so the reason I can only buy that one is Famicom cases, Super Famicom cases are just flimsy cardboard.
Yeah.
So like for me, like I was sitting there in, what was that place called?
Was it Super Potato?
No, it's not Super Potato.
Aww.
It was Super Photo.
Okay.
Super Photo. I was sitting there in Super Photo going, I could fit how many of these in my luggage, and then how many of them would actually make it back through customs to the United States in one piece. So that's why I didn't just buy everything.
Buy dozens of them.
But once again, even though you can't read that game, where reading is an important part of that game's still a work of art, definitely worth more than that money.
The $8 you spent on it, and the $10 I bought it on the PSN for.
Yeah. And Jeff Gerstmann talks about it all the time, about going over to Japan for TGS after the Neo Geo crashed, and just buying Neo Geo cards, because he's like, these are like $100, and you're selling them for $5. Like,
yeah.
Like, I think people need to get out of their heads this idea that gaming should be as close to free as possible. There are certain things in this world that are worth the high asking price. Things that are like that have names like Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy VI and Super Metroid and all of these things where, like, yes,
there's a reason why buying some of these games in their original state is so high, because they are
and when it comes to
considered some of the best games.
Now that I said Super Metroid, when it comes to things like the Virtual Console, you got to take into account. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to take this on the go. Yeah, it's only gonna be on my Wii or my Wii U. Blah 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 blah. But when I'm buying stuff on the PlayStation Store for the Sony PlayStation Classics, $10 for Symphony of the Night is a steal.
Yeah,
especially considering I can now take it with me
on your Vita or your PSP
and like all these other things. And people need to get that out of their brain that somehow that $10 is expensive.
Yeah, I mean, $10. If $10 is going to make or break you, maybe you should find a cheaper hobby.
Yeah.
Like, that was something that always kind of seemed really weird to me. It's like, I understand, it sucks when you're broke. It sucks when you can't buy any more games. If you are
when
scraping
you make
by...
stupid New Year's resolutions that Sony doesn't know about, like...
Mister, I can't buy any games on the PSN because I promised my wife I wouldn't.
I promised myself I wouldn't.
Yeah.
My wife
but I mean,
I
I get that, if you have to make a choice between buying a new game for $10 or buying gas for your car so you get to work for a week, I think that seems like you need to reevaluate your priorities.
But we're not even talking about that. We're talking about people that are upset that Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together is still $20 on PSN. And people are really pissed about that. They're like, it's been out forever. It should be going on sale, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting here in the middle of this going, you guys do realize this is Tactics Ogre, and not just Tactics Ogre, but the best version of Tactics Ogre with the best translation.
And you're talking hundreds of hours of gameplay in for $20.
Yes.
You could spend $60 on a Call of Duty game, and all you do is play the single player, and it's 5 hours.
That's why I don't buy Call of Duty anymore.
But if all you're going to do is play the single player, then you're buying that game for the wrong reason. So
that's why I don't buy Call of Duty anymore. So people need to start looking at your voracious appetite for stuff.
Yes.
Is probably hurting the developers.
Yes. Especially cheap stuff.
You need, specifically cheap stuff. There we go. That was good. You need to think about the investment you're making. Is that going to be worth the time you're getting out of it? So let's say you want to buy Skyrim for $60. That's a solid investment. You are going to get a buttload of time out of Skyrim.
I was actually looking to pick up Skyrim, and I saw it online. I saw it in a secondhand store for less than $20, and I was thinking about going and buy used,
good
but
price.
still
used, good price. You're getting
for $20, yeah.
You're getting an excellent.
But I'm
deal
getting
out
the
of that.
physical disc. I wouldn't expect to see it on the store for less than $45 or almost retail.
So now we're looking at Skyrim, which is a game of over hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours without all the DLC.
Yep. So then we're going to go to Final Fantasy VI, which is a game that, if you were playing it correctly, should not take you over 30 hours.
Unless you just want to grind your face off.
Yeah. Yes. But still, $10 for that, awesome deal.
Yeah.
I'm getting better than $1 an hour. I understand that sometimes we buy games that are like, damn, I bought the wrong game, son.
Yeah. Yeah. I've felt that way a lot.
Yeah.
I spent $25 or $30 on this game, and I played like an hour of it, and I hated it.
Yes. And I think people bemoan the end of the demo or the timed trial and all that other crap. I think part of the reason is that devs just can't break even making it. So they're like, what's the first thing to go? The demo.
Yeah.
Because this thing's going to end up being on sale, on a Steam sale for $1.50, and we're going to have to make some money off of it when we sell it for $1.50. And so the sales are good, but you have to understand
how they affect the developers and how they affect what gets developed. They see, this Call of Duty game comes out and it sells millions and millions of copies.
Everything needs to be
6
like Call
hours.
of
It needs to
Duty.
be like Call of Duty. Well, we
what
won't.
I like to call it 2009 to 2011. Everything needs to be Call of Duty. Like, God damn it, people! Like, not everything needs to be Call of Duty.
We don't need big explosions and
Final Fantasy VII came out, and all of a sudden, everything needs to have like 28-hour cutscenes, and I'm just sitting here like, oh God, when's this gonna be over?
Really? You're going to complain about 20-hour cutscenes? You played Metal Gear Solid 4. The end of that game is a 90-minute cutscene.
But that's the other thing is that 90-minute cutscene was totally earned.
Yeah.
Because you had been playing those games, that series of games, for years.
Yeah.
Whereas the 90-minute cutscene in Xenosaga 1, maybe not earned.
Yeah.
The second one, definitely not earned. The third one, I'm really waiting for this shit to be over. And I'm a guy that reads. I'm a guy that reads data logs. So don't look at me like my time is precious. But
I mean, it's you know, are you getting the money? Are you getting the time investment versus money spent back on these games? And you know,
and are you then taking advantage of the dev?
Yeah.
So like if let's say you have $20 before the Steam sale starts and you want to buy a game, is it better to buy 20 games that are made by small devs that you're not going to play at all
for $1 a piece?
For $1 a piece, where they're all getting raked over the coals? Or is it better to just go ahead and buy
one of those
Rogue
10
Legacy
for full price, which is like $15?
Rogue Legacy for $15. Boom. You're going to play it forever.
I'm going to buy it again when it comes out on the PSN, just so I can put it on my Vita.
I've just been waiting for that game to come out because that and
Towerfall?
Yeah. No,
was that the Ouya one?
Yeah, the Ouya one that everyone
Towerfall.
Everyone is screaming about, and it's like, I'm going to play it.
Just wait, I'm going to get it on a platform I actually have.
Yeah, platform that I'm not going to groan every time I have to touch.
Like your PC?
Yes. So I think as customers, we need to start looking at that.
Yeah, and you know, we need to be a little bit more conscious of kind of what's happening with these Steam sales. And not all sales are made equal.
Yeah, so like the PSN sales, Namco is getting $10 worth of stuff out of every time you buy Tales of Exilia for $10, which is an extremely good deal. Even though I've not played Extreme Tales of Exilia, $10 for any Tales game is an extremely good deal. Anyway.
Yeah, if you could find a Tales game at retail for under $10, then somebody doesn't know what they have.
Yes. So Sony is also kicking them back quite a bit more than Valve would be in the same situation. Yes. And part of that is Valve's business model. Part of that is Valve is a very profitable company that is pretty much the only...
They are the premier...
They're the premier show in that space.
In PC digital distribution.
Yes.
Valve is king.
Yes.
You have Origin, you have Uplay, but...
Good Old Games, Green Man Game, all this stuff. There's all these other options. Whereas on Sony's platform, they're not competing. Obviously, there's not Steam on a PlayStation. There's not Good Old Games or anything. It's just the PlayStation Network. But to get these good deals to come to Sony and not Microsoft or Nintendo, Sony then has to pony up a sizable chunk of money.
Yeah, they do.
So what's best for gaming? Sign up for a subscription service.
Yeah, I mean that's how they're fronting a lot of the developers' money to do these big sales.
Yep.
So
sign up for PlayStation Plus if there was something like
even
it on
if you get Plus for $30 for a year, like I did during Black Friday.
Yeah.
You're still helping them out. I mean, you're kind of hosing Sony at that point.
A little bit. You're hosing Sony, but I don't think Sony cares.
No, they're like, whatever.
Sony's like, we're busy developing headphones that work underwater, so you can just however much you want to pay for that. Yeah.
Curved 4K TVs that the sweet spot is 6 feet away.
Yeah. Well, okay. I have a living room that's that long. Anyway, so we'll see you next week. We're going to be talking about Final Fantasy. It'll be a very contentious episode.
Yeah.
And don't forget to spay and neuter those Pokemon.